And the minute I heard I was coming to Dallas, I said, well, I got to call my dear friend. And he was a dear friend of the Righteous Brothers and just a great guy. And I called him, I said, because he had done some interviews with people and this and that. I said, hey, man, would you come up on stage and interview me, kind of just for a minute, and kind of ask questions that maybe the audience would want to ask you. So he said, absolutely. So would you welcome my dear friend, Mr. Billy Bob Harris. Billy Bob! Billy Bob.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, we never know when God's going to drop a great blessing into our lives. And when he does, we seldom recognize the significance that it's going to mean to our future. That's exactly what happened to me many years ago. I went to this guy's concert. Now, I knew his music, but I didn't know him. And what seemed by happenstance, I got introduced to him. Wow. I never knew the blessings that I was going to receive in the coming years through this man's friendship. Everybody here knows his music, and through his stories, his sincerity, his honesty, and his humor, it's my pleasure to say, Dallas, here is our friend, Bill Medley.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Billy Bob. Thank you, brother. What do you got to ask me, man? And be careful, because I'll be truthful.
Sure. Okay, all right. You know, you've told us a lot of things. I don't know where you started out to be a rock and roller or not. Did you ever have another profession when you...
Another profession? No, I'm just literally a singer. I would love to design houses and stuff. I would love to do that. But I dropped out of school when I was 16. I was way ahead of my time.
I understand. Okay.
I said, I don't need this crap. I'm going to be a singer. And when I was about 17, I was just heading right into the wall. I had, you know, and my mom and dad had a band from Texas, actually, a small town of Van Horn, Texas, outside of El Paso, and but my mom was a hairdresser, and she said, well, you know, that's kind of artistic and this and that. Maybe you should go to hairdressing school. That's exactly how I felt.
Wow.
Here I am, this little 17-year-old greaseball, and I said, well, okay, I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
So I went to hairdressing school. Thank God I failed.
Okay.
I was just starting to get into music at the same time. But let me tell you, and this is a true story, and I still have nightmares over this. They would call them patrons. Little ladies, elderly ladies would come in and have their hair done because they could have it done for nothing, because I called them patients, but they were called patrons. And the first time I was supposed to cut a little lady's hair, wonderful, wonderful little elderly lady, and she comes walking in, and she had blue hair, a blue afro, like that, huge. And I said, wow, what am I going to do with that? And it was just bright blue. So I said, well, I don't know. So I put her down, and I'm shampooing her hair, and I'm going and I'm doing, and I'm putting the stuff up in this way and the way. And I looked down, and her hair was gone. Her hair was gone. I'm looking for it. I don't know. I looked under, and it ain't in the sink. And I just panicked. I panicked, and I went to my instructor. I said, I don't know. Her hair's gone. And she just laughed, and she went over and she fluffed up. Well, you ladies probably know. It was a blue rinse, you know, and she was very elderly and had very white complexion, and white hair. So the hair just blended right in with her head. She looked like she was bald. I said, holy Christ, how do you tell somebody that you lost their hair? But anyway, yes.
I guess that career didn't last too long.
Well, no, it didn't, man. I failed hair coloring and manicuring. And obviously the lady next to me did too, because I copied everything she did.
When you guys started, do you remember the first time that you heard your record on the radio?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's an out-of-body experience. It's unbelievable.
Tell us about it.
We were driving to work to the Rendezvous Ballroom, and we were listening to KRLA, Bobby Eubanks, and they played Little Latin Loopy Loo, and on the radio, and we said, "Oh my God!" And we went from two 23-year-old guys to two 13-year-old screaming girls. I'm telling you. Oh my God, that's our record, that's our record. Listen to that. We pulled over, we got out of the car, we danced. Jumped back in the car, we made out a little bit, but it's an out-of-body experience.
I could imagine.
Yeah,
it would be.
It's nuts.
Yeah, and speaking of first, I think this is right, of course, what Las Vegas is now, but you were the first rock and roll group to go into Las Vegas, wasn't you?
Yeah, we were, and it just happened to be the Sands Hotel, and Frank Sinatra took us in there, and you guys can imagine, we're 25 years old, we're working with the Rat Pack and Showgirls. Man! And it was, I would tell you some of the stories, but I'd turn this place into a bowling alley. And
okay.
But it just was an incredible experience. And it was, to watch those guys perform, Bobby and I learned so much. And interesting story. Bobby and I were in the lounge, which was seated about 500 people. It was a beautiful lounge. And we were wearing tuxedos, with the bow and the tuxedos. But I had a couple of really good friends that were coming in to see us, and I'm not bragging, but it really was wall to wall. You couldn't get in. And so I got dressed early, got my bow tie on and everything, and I ran out to the front to make sure that they could, my friends, my good friends, could get in. So I go around, and there's some guy stops me, an older guy, happened to be with a young girl. I think it was his niece.
Yeah, niece, yeah.
And I say older guy, he was probably 40. But this older guy, and he comes up to me with a stack of chips like this, and he says, "Can you get me a front row ticket, a seat?" I looked at the chips, I put them in my pocket, walked up to the maitre d', and I said, "Here's my dear friends. Get them a good seat." I'm telling you that the curtain came up, and right there, they were sitting right there. And the girl knew the whole time that I was one of the righteous brothers. The curtain came up, and I looked down at that guy, and he went like this. And I know he's thinking, what the hell's a maitre d' doing on stage? And I kept the chips. And I didn't split them with Bobby. I didn't even tell him that story.
Bill, there's been so much statistics, and I read in the Wall Street Journal, and we've all talked about it 2 or 3 times tonight, about the most played song in American radio is "You've Lost That Loving Feeling." And now that includes everybody.
Yeah.
Elvis, the Beatles, everybody. How do you wrap your head around that? I mean, of having the most listened to song of anybody.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I love bragging about it.
Yeah.
But you can't wrap your brain around the most played record in the history of American radio, and more than likely will remain that. It's about 1 million airplays in front of yesterday by the Beatles. And they claim if you played Love and Feeling back to back to back to back, as many times as it's been played on the radio, it would take you 37 years to do.
Good God.
It's just unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you can't. You can't wrap your brain around
Yeah.
it. You know, you can wrap your brain around going into the Hall of Fame, kind of, as amazing as it is.
Yeah, 'cause some other
but
people's there.
There's like 300 people in it.
Yeah.
But boy, having the record, it's just wonderful.
Yeah. Looking back at your history, and it's not over yet. Tell us some of these.
That's your opinion.
I hope so. Okay. Tell us some of the greatest thrills that you've had
Greatest thrills.
in music.
Oh,
Okay.
well, there was that 5 minutes that.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I don't know, and this will sound really odd. I mean, being on the Beatle tour, you just didn't know that you had a front row seat to history. You didn't know. And we were the first on the Rolling Stone
Let me
tour.
interrupt. How big were they then?
Well, they were just brand new. I mean, we didn't even know who we were going on tour with, but all these kids showed up. So they hadn't. I think they just started having that first hit record, whatever it was. I Want to Hold Your Hand or one of those records. So, but the biggest thrill for us, we were asked to be the opening act, and we were big at this time, for Jack Benny.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were Jack Benny's opening act, and not just that, we got to do like a 20-minute monologue with Jack Benny. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
you can't replace that.
Yeah.
And for Bobby and I, we always said that was one of the greatest thrills of our life, and being friends with Elvis and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that was
Well,
great.